Ramble.
Welcome to Curious with Josh Peck. Start the show.
Hello, welcome back to the Curious Podcast. My name is Josh Peck, and your name is insert name here, and you are the listener. I am the host, and that is how a podcast works. And if you want it to work a different way, then create a new format, guy, idea, man. What do you got? Come on, cook something up, make a little think tank, redefine the medium. But until you do, this is it. So, deal with it. Guys, it's 2019. I've got a child. I've got a career. I'm a grown-up. A lot of pressure. Feel that pressure sneaking in. Oh, God, how am I going to provide for this human life who needs me 100% for the next 18 years? And let's be fucking honest, probably longer. You know what I mean? Not too many self-sufficient kids at 18 nowadays. Because you parents, you're coddling your kids too long. You know what I mean? They wind up coming back around 24, 25, and art school didn't work out. And all of a sudden, they got to sleep on mom and dad's couch. Or maybe back in their old room. And yeah, they're asking to borrow a little bit of cash to get by. Because they're figuring it out. You know? They don't have that pressure to go work. Because you gave them a great life the whole time. Why? Because that's what we're supposed to do. You know, we've grown to really love this idea of a childhood, and we want to give kids great ones, and I'm not against that. But sometimes we cripple them with too much luxury, too much convenience. I mean, I've been hearing about kids that don't want to get their driver's license at 15 or 16 whenever you get them. Like, they're kind of okay with not. Because they'd rather, buy an Uber on mom and dad's account, sit in the back and, fucking text or whatever. God, I sound like I'm fucking 60 years old. I'm 32 years old, by the way. But this is my level of, curmudgeonness, which isn't a word. But yeah, the pressure's creeping. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, like, I got to support a wife and, a child and, my mom a little bit. And man, who gave me all this responsibility? I feel like I don't qualify, because if there was some sort of board of directors who had to decide who gets doled out responsibility, and they could like see inside your mind, they'd be like, oh, this man is not fit to take care of lives, especially many. No. This guy thinks about himself 95% of the day. And he has fatalistic thinking, projects the future, and is constantly living in the future and obsessing about how things aren't going to work out, or he's in resentment of the past. And this guy's not fit to have to, provide for other people. But you know what? There's no board. There's no panel. There's no FDA, there's no screening process for this. So here I am, baby, a wife, and my mom, who I kind of help out. You know what I mean? But it's all going to work out. Why? Because it always has. So it probably always will. Maybe. Or not. And then I'm that guy. And, and then you have to adjust. I don't know. I think it'll all be fine. But, this is naturally what happens. You kind of get off like the glow of the new year and your sort of new resolutions. And then sort of reality sets back in that you're just the same. And so is life. And it's, it's going to be a day-to-day grind. And that's okay. I think. Maybe. I don't know. I've been thinking recently about this whole idea of when sort of luxuries turn into necessities, because we work hard and then we begin to be able to afford, the nicer things in life. And then we keep that up for a long time because we keep working hard, and all of a sudden sort of the allure of those fun, exciting, luxurious things, well, it sort of dissipates, and then those luxurious things become just sort of normal. And then we want nicer things. And God forbid we should be without that luxury, because it would make us uncomfortable. And I think about that a lot. I'm sorry, that was my phone. And I don't want to get that way. I want to be on top of my shit. You know, I don't want to get too comfortable because I drive like an alright car and live in like a pretty okay apartment. You know? We all got to be able to downgrade at any moment. And I'm telling you that I would fucking drive a Hyundai Santa Fe, no problem. Or like a 1998 Toyota Tercel, all good. I'll be that guy with the shitty car who, like, the sound system doesn't work, so they have a boombox on their passenger seat that they, like, connect their phone to with, like, a really janky phone cord. I'm fucking down. I'll use a droid. I can make it happen. I don't even like Whole Foods that much. That's a lie. I love Whole Foods, but I don't have to shop there. You know what I mean? Because I don't always feel great about it. And sometimes I think I should be at Ralph's or the Food Emporium or Kroger or A&P or Publix or whatever your local grocery store is, you know? And I'm like, I could have a budget meal tonight. Some macaroni and cheese, some rice and beans. You could feed a family of 4 for like $3 with that. And they're eating good. So I don't know. I don't want to get too comfortable with the nice things in life. You know what I mean? It's like I like it, but I could take it or leave it. And I see people getting too, they get a little too comfortable. Trying to stay on my toes. Got people to worry about, I think it's going to be fine. It usually always is. On today's show, Rosie Perez. I mean, can we talk about like legend, icon status? If you don't know who Rosie Perez is, I would very nicely like to say to you, fuck out of here. Like, welcome, join us, watch some of the great movies of the last, 20 plus years that she's been in. Great work. What an actress. What a person. This is one of my favorite podcasts. I felt honored to be able to spend some time and talk to her, and we've hung out a few times before this, and I just feel very lucky to know her. And she's just all New York, and I just love her. So please enjoy Rosie.
I was like, Marina Del Way, oh my gosh.
Jesus.
And then when I got off of the marina,
Right.
then I had to get back on the freeway, and there was this thing that went like this.
Forget about it.
And everyone's honking because I'm going like 2 miles per hour.
God bless. I love that. Here, is this comfy?
Yeah.
Wait, I think this is a perfect thing to start the podcast on, because there are some people that are so inherently New York that I can't imagine them driving, and you're one of those people.
I could drive like in Brooklyn.
Yeah, really
well.
That's no joking around either.
Yeah, but it's streets.
Right.
There's not multiple lanes.
Right.
There's not people doing like 90, unless they're running from the cops.
Sure.
So it's like, oh my God.
So you're not a freeway driver?
No.
I feel like you're allowed to not be a freeway driver.
Thank you.
Right? You've earned that right.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, that was my husband. Let me shut these off.
Oh, no worries.
Okay. Here we go. All right, I'm all yours.
Thank you for doing this.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh. Do you remember the first time we met?
I don't remember the first time we met, but I remember that we met.
That's a perfect answer. We ate at the corner. What's it called? La
Esquina.
La Esquina.
Oh my God, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, like 10 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
I know. And I remember our mutual manager, Sam, it was one of those moments, and this has happened twice to me now with two legends, which is you and Vincent D'Onofrio, where he's been like, yo, I'm going to dinner with Rosie. Do you want to come? And I'm like, no, because it's terrifying. Like, what? What am I going to say? Like, I'm going to be like, you're Rosie Perez, and I'm like, the kid from Hell's Kitchen. But inevitably, I'm like, of course I want to go. And, well, now I have that experience.
Oh.
And I can lead with that. So you grew up in Brooklyn?
For the most part, yes.
What part?
Initially, Williamsburg South.
A different Williamsburg, huh? Than it is now?
Yes, very much so. And then Brooklyn North and Bushwick.
And what did it look like growing up in that part of town in the time that you did?
Well, Williamsburg South, we lived on the corner of Lee Avenue and Wallabout, which is right by the overpass on the BQE, and smack dead in the middle of the Hasidic community. So we were like amongst the very, very few Puerto Ricans that were in that neighborhood. And I thought my aunt, God rest her soul, who raised me, she would always laugh, because I always thought that the whole building was full of Puerto Ricans, and it was just our floor.
And how many of you were on that floor?
There was only 3 apartments on that floor. There's a lot of Puerto Ricans in each apartment.
Okay.
So I that's what I thought, and because also that the Hasidic children were not allowed to play with us,
Right.
so we kind of had to stick to ourselves,
So you didn't feel necessarily welcomed there by the Hasidim?
I thought it was normal, so it wasn't an issue of me not feeling welcomed. It was like, oh, that's the way it is.
And was there no interaction? Was there minimal interaction? What did it look like?
There was a lot of interaction on the Sabbath.
Right.
Because they would invite us to their homes to turn on their stove or go to their building and press the elevator,
I love that.
and stuff like that. And then, then the other Puerto Rican kids were like, how much did you get? I go, what do you mean? To turn on their stove, how much did they give you? And I go, nothing. Oh, Rosie's so dumb. She's so stupid.
Really? That was like...
And I'm like 8.
So that was like a hustle, like get the Jews to hook you up with a couple dollars for turning on the stove.
Yeah.
On the Sabbath.
Yeah. And I did it once, and I just felt so creepy about it, And this woman gave me a quarter.
Uh-huh.
Oh, my gosh. Everybody wanted to be my friend, because we went to the corner store, of course, to get,
Yeah, then you could get like a couple
chocolate.
things.
Yeah, a lot of things. A lot of things for a quarter. And, but my aunt had made a friend, had kind of broke protocol back then, and had made a friend. And so I had 2 babysitters. One in Bushwick was Doña Aida, God rest her soul, and in Williamsburg South, it was Rosie. It was a Hasidic woman named Rosie, and she used to babysit me too.
So I find it so fascinating too that here they are, like for the most part, keeping their distance as the Hasidim do, and very insular and like too holy to interact with, the regulars.
Right.
And then they're having, like the Puerto Rican girl from the 3rd floor light their stove. And it's like, I have a friend, it was recently the High Holy Days for Jews. And I have a buddy who like doesn't eat pork, and no, not at all. He doesn't eat pork, and he fasts on Yom Kippur. And I say to him, why? He's like, just in case, bro.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Like, just in case. I'm like, oh, so every other Jewish law you break on the daily is nothing, but, God will see these 2 things and be like, all right, give this guy the fast track to heaven,
Yeah.
And so what did your mom and dad do for work?
My mother and father didn't raise me, but my mother never worked. She before she had all her kids, she was a nightclub singer in Puerto Rico, and she had a beautiful, beautiful voice. And then got locked in a abusive marriage, and that kind of was ended. And it broke her spirit, it really did. But my father was a military career guy. He served in the World War II, in the Korean War. When it came to the Vietnam War, he was done. He didn't believe in war anymore. He didn't want to talk about his experience on the battlefield. He only talked about his experiences with women, which was weird for a daughter to listen to.
Like conquests.
Yeah, like, whoa, when I was in Normandy, oh my God, this woman was so gorgeous. It was like that. And then until he retired, he was a merchant marine. And he would sail all over the world.
And in hindsight, looking at it now, from where you are today, did you see how the military side of, you see how deeply it affects, especially someone like your dad, who I'm sure saw action, and it was so, it's slightly different than some of the military guys today, and similar in certain ways, but how that must have informed and affected him in such a deep way.
It affected him in a deep way, but it was more in a silent, deep way. Like he really did not want to talk about it, and that was just understood. And but my uncle, who's still with us, who's in his 90s,
Wow.
he served in World War II, Korean War, and enlisted in the Vietnam War, and wants to be buried in his uniform, and he was very proud of his service. And those are, two brothers, just on the completely different ends of the spectrum when it comes to the military service. That said, they both truly and deeply believed in America. Truly believed in America. Well, my uncle still does believe in America. And it's just their belief systems were different. And I know it sounds very strange, but...
It doesn't.
Okay.
It's sort of, it's much of the men of that era that when you talk about your dad, that sort of stoicism, that sort of disconnect from, like, certain things aren't talked about, and they're fine to compartmentalize that, and they sort of go on with their life, right, to a certain extent. I think that was kind of, I know for me, like, that was, my mom was the big talker, interactor, talk it out, get the emotions out. She was in therapy in her 20s, so she embraced all that. But my uncle, who was the polar opposite of that, they had a similar dysfunctional, painful, full of loss sort of childhood. And he went the opposite and said, I'm going to go into the Army and I'm going to become a volunteer police officer and make something of myself. And I'm never going to lament or even revisit sort of the tropes of my childhood. So just different coping mechanisms, I guess.
I guess.
Maybe?
I don't know. My uncle has not one bad thing to say about the military.
Yeah.
Or his service. So, and my father didn't either. He wouldn't say anything bad about it.
Yeah.
It just was, I knew all his time in KP duty because he would get in trouble so much, always trying to sneak off base to see a woman, playing practical jokes all the time. He had KP duty so much that he became a cook in the military and ended up being a chef's chef to the captain.
What's KP duty? It's like the brig. It's like punishment.
Kitchen.
Okay.
Kitchen duty, and that's that meant you would have to go and peel potatoes.
Right. You got in some shit.
Yes.
That was your penance.
Yeah. My father could peel a potato in seconds.
Wow.
Orange too, skin of orange like nobody's business.
Damn.
And was an amazing cook, because when he got in trouble and he had to peel potatoes when they weren't looking, he would cook food for him and his friends, and everybody wanted his food, not the food that was being prepared. And so yeah, he had a really good reputation, and he said that saved him from the battleground. His passion saved him from the battleground, so it's really interesting.
Yeah, I'd rather be cooking the captain dinner than storming the beaches of Normandy, like, on the front lines, taking the heat,
Yeah.
What did your home look like growing up? Like, who was there? What was What was day-to-day life?
It was very complicated because there was a time where I spent in the child welfare system because my mother got jealous and regretful for giving me away to my aunt, my father's sister. And she took me and placed me in a home for children for no reason. And it took a long time to get me out of the system because my aunt didn't have legal guardianship of me, and neither did my father. So the good thing about it was that I was able to spend Friday through Sunday back in Brooklyn in my home. And so it was really, really weird for me as a child. And, here's a little girl full of spirit and sunshine, and then placed in that, So there was a dark cloud on me, and every time I would go back home, it would take about a day or two for me to settle back in and be normal, and then I would have to go right back. And when I finally did get out, my aunt finally won, and my father, those days I would never trade for anything in the world. Those days in Brooklyn, even though people, say it was a shithole back then, because by then we had moved to Bushwick. Because we were so poor, we couldn't afford Williamsburg.
Oh, man.
We were so poor, we were on the waiting list for the projects.
Amazing.
That's how poor we were.
God bless.
And oh my God, I could go on with the we were so poor jokes.
Come on, keep it going.
They weren't, we were so poor that we used to have to eat cereal with a fork to save the milk.
Beautiful. I get that.
And so it was a lot of that.
Did y'all half the milk? Like, my mom used to get the whole milk, and then she put it in 2 jars, split it in half, and then fill it up with water.
No.
Oh, we used to split milk.
No, we didn't do that. We had the powdered milk.
Oh, okay.
Which was disgusting.
I know what you're working with there.
Yeah. Powdered milk and government cheese, the big block cheese.
Yeah,
and
like
it was
the Velveeta shit.
Yeah, it was so humiliating coming home with the block of cheese because people on our block would make fun. And now I look back at it I was like, y'all were poor too. You were on the same block.
Right.
You just had a couple of more dollars than us. It's just like, so what?
Yeah, what are you trying to front?
Yeah.
My best friend Len is a Russian immigrant who moved to LA with his family, and his parents are like these self-made people and have done so well. But when they moved here, they struggled like many immigrant families. And so he qualified for school lunch. And so they would make an announcement at the top of the year, like, Len, come up and get your tickets for school lunch. And he was so ashamed. He was like, nah, y'all are wrong. That's not mine. Like, you're bugging out. That's not my shit. And he refused it. And they finally said, no, trust me, it's yours. So he threw him away. And his mom, tore him to shreds for that. Like, are you bugging? Like, this is a wonderful hookup right here that you were just squandering.
Yeah, but I relate.
Right?
Yeah, I totally relate. I used to wait till everybody would go on the line in the cafeteria and just wait till they sat down, or try to get there first,
right.
And do that kind of stuff. And, but that's how I became fat as a kid. One was, of course, depression. I was eating my feelings away. But 2 is that I had so much pride. I didn't want to go on the, poor kids free lunch line. I didn't want to do that. So I would just go without, and I would be starving. And by the time I would go back home, I would eat half a pot of rice because I was just like, just so ravenous. And I've been working since I was. Well, I started working at 9, but not like a full time, like a real job until I was like 11. And I was very smart with money. I was very frugal even back then, and I would always set a certain percentage of my pay aside just for food.
Yeah.
So I could go, to the corner and get a pizza with extra cheese.
Come on.
Go and get a $1,000 bar or a Snicker, dark chocolate Hershey's, all of that stuff,
Yeah.
and would just go in there to the store by myself, or pickle, a big fat pickle. Remember the big fat pickle jars?
Yeah.
And
Did you eat it alone?
Yes, I would eat it alone.
Me too.
Dry herring. I loved dry. I'm sorry,
Jewish neighborhood.
I lived in a Jewish neighborhood.
I get that.
So I lived for dry herring, and next to that was pickled herring.
Wow.
To this day.
What a palate.
To this day.
Really?
Yes.
So will you go to like Russ and Daughters in New York and like crush some lox or some like, right. It's good shit.
Yeah, now they opened up a Russ and Daughters in the Brooklyn Navy Yard.
Really?
Close to where I live now. And when we passed by, we saw the sign. I was with my husband. I went, "Stop the car!" And he goes, "Oh my God, what happened?" I said, "There's a Russ and Daughters." And he goes, "You're an idiot." And I said, "No, I'm not. I'm getting out of the car."
Do you not understand what's happening here?
Yeah.
It's a moment.
Yeah.
It's so funny too, because like my wife is from Sacramento and she's like Irish Catholic, and it's just that kind of food, especially the pickled herring, which is an acquired taste in some respects, is so not even a part of her understanding that it puts shivers down her spine. And I'm like, you are missing out. Like this with some cream cheese on a bagel, like take me away.
Yes.
But she had to introduce me. I don't know if you had a similar experience to avocado. Because we didn't have no avocado in New York. Did you have avocado?
I'm Puerto Rican, yeah, we had avocado.
But like really? Like,
Yeah.
Because growing up with my Puerto Rican friends in New York, it was like sofrito and adobo and goya and like all, but like, and it was bistec palamilla and ropa vieja, but it wasn't, I don't remember ever seeing an avocado. But
Really?
maybe I wasn't getting invited to the right houses.
Yeah, maybe you weren't. Yeah, but yeah. That was our salad. It was sliced tomato, iceberg lettuce, and sliced avocado.
That sounds great.
Yeah, a little salt and pepper, drizzle of olive oil, that was it. And sometimes if you want to get fancy with it, white vinegar.
Ooh, okay, I like that. Classy.
Yeah, classy. We like to keep it classy. So, yeah.
So because I can definitely identify with this, and as you were saying, like, was sort of eating sort of your first foray into kind of using it to numb out sort of your situation or your surroundings and kind of just take the edge off a little bit?
100%. When I was in the home for children, it might come to a surprise to you, but I had a mouth back then. And I was very stubborn. I was very outspoken. And so I would get in trouble a lot. I wasn't in trouble because I was a bad girl. I was in trouble because I had a strong spirit. I had my own sense of self, even as a child. And so when they would ask me to do something and I felt that it was wrong, and I would tell them, I would tell the nuns they were wrong.
Wow.
You know, and so
Sure, they love that.
Yeah, one of the punishments were the withholding of food. And so, yeah, so when I would get food, it wasn't only to, it wasn't just about eating my feelings and just stuffing myself and then becoming numb and having that feeling of just being relaxed. And, it's just, and only if someone experienced that can understand that feeling. But it was also in defiance. And also out of starvation, seriously, and so when I would get it, I would just shove it down my throat because I didn't know if I was going to get food again because I might get in trouble again.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I remember there was this one nun there named Sister Antonia who I went to visit again as an adult, and I remember she just started crying. She goes, "I remember I used to sneak you cheese sandwiches." And I said, "Yes, you did, sister. I can't believe you remember that." And, so it was my relationship with food was very, very complicated. It was very, very complicated. And it wasn't until I went home for good back in Brooklyn that I had to establish a new relationship with food. Because my aunt, she used to cry, like there would be silent tears coming down her eyes when she would serve me food, and I would hover over it like a prison inmate and shove it in my mouth. And she'd go, "Rosie, please, it's okay. It's okay." And then I would feel ashamed. And then when everybody was finished eating dinner, I would go back and sneak more food because I didn't want anyone seeing me pig out. and it was really difficult. It was really, really difficult for me. And if I wasn't, I think that when I became a teenager, I was so into sports, and I was into dancing, and that helped me not become obese.
Right.
Because if I didn't have those type of activities, I would have been obese very easily. I was just really chubby. I had a belly. I had a big fat belly.
And is culturally, and you tell me, like, because I know for Jews, there's like that Yiddish word zaftig, which is like a little extra meat on the bones. It's
Yeah.
just considered healthier. Like, it's good. Our parents, our moms show love through food. So for you, like, I feel like that's a thing that I've seen with some of my friends who are Puerto Rican, or like that it's considered beautiful to be to carry a little extra weight, to have a little belly. Is that true or not?
No, not really.
No?
No. It was never cute to have a little belly. It was very cute to have a big fat ass, but it wasn't cute to have a big fat belly. No. Yeah. So it was different, different ends.
Yeah. Depends on where you hold it.
Exactly.
But it's interesting because I know so many people whose food isms, and God knows, I feel like the whole world has some of it. Like, I always look at my wife, and she has like two gorgeous sisters, and there's 3 girls, and they're all like tall, beautiful, thin blondes. And here I was, this like fat, like 280-pound kid growing up. And I'm like, you don't know my pain.
Right.
Like, you don't know from this.
Yeah.
And yet I see in them like a deep, deep insecurity, and that they have special relationship with food as well, just because they, either felt like they were chubby as kids, or that they never wanted to feel out of control. And I have a friend, one of my wife's friends, who says, like, I'll never tell my kids to finish their plate because my father told me that, and it led me to feel so overly full and uncomfortable all the time, and led to me putting on weight because I felt like if I wasn't finishing, then I wasn't doing the right thing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
it just depends where we get our ism.
Yeah.
What, and if you want to talk about it, you don't have to, like, being in this home for kids, like, what did the other kids look like? Like, what was your day-to-day interaction with some of the kids there? Like, did they seem like they were like you? Did they seem like they were completely opposite?
There was only a few kids that were like me, in the sense that a lot of the kids had accepted their circumstance, where I kept looking around like, why is everybody calm about this? This is crazy town, Yeah. I want to get out of here. Why are you listening to these nuns? They're insane, so I wasn't one to conform. And there was only a few of us there. And then the really, really bad kids in the home thought that they were in the same category as myself and a few others, but they really weren't. They were just bad kids. They thought that they were, bucking the system. No, they were just bad kids. They were just like psychopaths in the making. And, but it was strange because there was no prejudice in a weird way, or racism in a weird way, because all of us were under the same umbrella. So there was white kids, there were black kids, there were, Indian kids, there were Puerto Rican kids, Dominican, there were Irish, there were this, Italian. No Asians, though, I think. I don't think there was any Asians, which is not
even
interesting.
a half.
Not even a half.
Huh.
Isn't that strange? Oh my
Yeah.
God, that's just a revelation I had after all these years. No, I don't remember an Asian kid. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't remember. I don't remember an Asian kid. But yeah, so, and some of the kids came from families with money. Majority of the kids didn't. Majority of the kids came from poverty, but there were some kids who were middle class, upper middle class, and even rich. And the more money a child had come from, the more they the more they walked around with a sense of shame for being there. It was different. It was really, really different for the wealthy kids to be there, because they thought that they were above this. And, oh my God, this is so humiliating, that I'm in this situation. And I remember some of those kids as we got older, I kept in touch with a few of them, and I said, you know what? You were so full of crap. You thought you were above this situation because you were rich? I thought I was above this situation because I was a human being.
Sure.
There's not one human being should be treated the way we were treated in there, and you had a chip on your shoulder that used to piss me off. And they go, well, you had a chip on your shoulder that used to piss me off,
right.
And so, but we didn't see each other's side well. You know what I mean? There was not a lot of compassion to understand that hell is relative. You know what I mean? But I remember telling, I don't want to say her name, one of the rich kids, when I said that to her, she started crying and she goes, oh my God, you're right. I never thought that. I never thought that. She goes, is that why the kids hated me? I go, yeah, because you made them feel less than. And she goes, well, it wasn't about them. And I go, yeah, but we were kids. We didn't know how to articulate that. It's not your fault. I'm just explaining how things were. I was a fucking asshole. I was an asshole. I was an asshole because it was like, hey, Rose, do you want to come and play? No. Why not? Because I don't feel like it.
Yeah.
Well, who do you think you are? Me. That's who I think I am.
Don't worry about who I am.
Yeah, they were like, oh, you think you're special? No, I don't think I'm special. I am special. And it was because I had love in a way that some of the kids, majority of the kids, they didn't have. I had my aunt, I had my father, I had all that family on that side that adored me and loved me. And day one, my aunt always told me I was special. She always told me I was special, that I was extraordinary. And, oh, Rose, I love you so much, all the time. All the time. So, and when she would come up and visit, all the kids wanted to spend my visitation with me. And she would, and I would just, I remember a couple of times I would kind of pout because I just wanted to be with her one-on-one. And I remember she was like, don't be like that. That's ugly. Don't do that. Don't be like that.
Yeah.
And she's like, you have to, they don't have any visitors. They don't get this. So you have to be generous. And, I would pout for a minute and then it would be fun. It would be fun and stuff. And through that process, through her generosity, I ended up making a few friends, because they always looked forward for my aunt coming or my father. And
was someone like Sister Angelina giving you was that her name? Giving you the
It's Sister Antoinette.
Sister Antoinette giving you was she the minority as far as the sisters went, like hooking you up with cheese sandwiches on the sly, or was she the majority?
Oh, she was definitely a part of the minority. Yes.
So what did most of the sisters look like? Like, I just walking around with a ruler? Like, I imagine rough.
Yeah, they were rough.
Tough.
They were rough.
Did that inform you at all about, like, I mean, I imagine at a young age maybe you weren't as aware of it, but, like, did it make you sort of look at religion in a weird way? Like, here are these godly, in quotes, figures or people of God that are treating me like shit?
Not until I was older, but even when I was younger, I questioned religion. And I used to get in trouble for that a lot. Because I remember when we were studying the 12 steps of Jesus, and we were in the chapel, and we were also studying the saints and everything. And I raised my hand in the chapel, and I said, excuse me, Sister Benata, what? She hated me. I was the bane of her existence.
You make her sound like she loved you.
Yeah. And I said, Sister Benata, why do we have saints?
Yeah.
Don't you question that that's blasphemy? And I go, why is it blasphemy? I just want to know, why do we have this middleman why can't we just pray to God directly? Smack, 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 you impertinent child, you blasphemous child. Get on your knees and pray. And I go, okay, but to whom? And smack, 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 and I said to him like in a very sarcastic, smart-ass way and everything. And oh, you have to go into confession. I would go into confession. I would tell the priest what I did. Okay, you have to do so many Hail Marys, so many Our Fathers. I'm like, okay. So I would sit there and I would just, mouth it, but I wasn't really praying. And I got so good at timing how long the prayer was. So then I would know when to get up and say, I'm done. So I wasn't praying.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And,
just timing your Hail Marys in your head.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that how you said that. Timing your Hail Marys in your head. Love that. And but strangely enough, I still believed in God. You know what I mean? Because when you have nothing, you got to believe in something.
Right.
And so and it wasn't until I was older I remember telling my beloved Eddie, my nephew, he asked me one day, he said, Titi, do you believe in God? And he's 16 years old, and I'm an adult. And I look at him, I go, you know what? Honestly? He goes, honestly. I go, I don't know. He goes, me too, I don't know. I go, really? He goes, why don't you know? I don't know. And I said, I don't know if I buy it. But then I feel afraid to admit that. He goes, me too. And I said, so I wonder how much was it brainwashing or how much is, it's real doubt? Like, I don't, real belief, I just don't know. And that was the healthiest moment in my relationship to quote unquote religion.
Yeah.
Because I just admitted to myself, to him, I don't know. I really don't know. And I told him, I said, what if I wasn't in the home? What if nobody told me about God? Would I still believe in God?
But isn't that true humility too? Is that there is no definite knowing of really anything on this earth, but especially the divine or the infinite. I was listening to a podcast the other day that Joe Rogan had, and he was saying how, even in science, the universe, this is what actual scientists say, the universe is built up of 85% dark matter.
Right.
Because we don't know what to call it. We haven't defined it yet. You want to know what else you could call it? Magic. There's no fucking name for it. There's things that are so beyond our comprehension that it's like, I'm wary of anyone, be it the Bible thumper evangelical to the staunch atheist who believes that they are so endowed with the idea that I know for sure this is right.
Exactly.
And I imagine that your nephew must have felt such a sense of relief that this grown-up person who he loves and looks up to was in the same boat and felt the same way. I mean, I'm sure for him that took a load off, right? Because I remember being a kid looking to adults and thinking like, God, they must just have it all figured out. They got the manual, they got the handbook at a certain age on how to live.
Yeah.
So you're in this situation. So when does it finally end? When are you allowed to leave?
When I was a young teenager.
And how long did it go on for?
Oh my God, it went on for 8 years. 8 years back and forth, living in two different worlds, having two different realities constantly, having to put on a mask every time I went back, and then having to slowly peel away at that mask when I would go back home, because that mask kind of sticks to you after a while.
Sure.
And thank God I had my aunt and my father that didn't allow that to happen. And my cousins too, who I thought were my sisters. I thought my aunt was my mother for the longest, and it was the nuns who kept saying, she's not your mother, she's not your mother, she's not your mother, which was so hurtful.
Yo.
Yeah.
You're like, guys, come on.
Yeah. And, but when I went back home, it was kind of like a convent convict being released from prison after a long stay.
You're still wearing
not-
it in your shoulders.
Yeah. And not knowing how to integrate into that society, what we call the real world.
Yeah, reassimilate.
Yeah. And it took me a while. It took me a while to kind of readjust fully. But once I did, everybody was very, very concerned about my emotional mental health, rightfully so. And they were really perplexed of how happy I always was. And I had my battles with depression, but I was too proud to let anybody see it. So I would wait till I was in our apartment by myself to be that way, or once in a blue moon, I would cuddle up on the couch with my aunt, and she would say, "Ay, Rosie, I'm depressed." And I say, "Me too." And she said, "Yeah, but you know what?" I go, "What?" "Tomorrow's another fucking day." And we would just laugh and laugh and laugh. She never told me, "Oh, feel better," or "Don't be depressed," or, snap out of it. She would just kind of ride it out with me, which was really good. I'm like, this woman was extraordinary. She was extraordinary. Yeah, but in Bushwick, those were good days. Those were fun days. I think because I really understood what freedom meant, where the other kids didn't on my block.
Yeah.
When I would hang out the windowsill, because we were on the third floor, and I would just watch life go back and forth on the block. And I remember this one of our neighbors down on the first floor, Doña Glady. She looked up because she was surgically attached to her windowsill, right? And she looked up and she smiled up at me, and I went, "Hola, Doña Glady." She go, "Bang, bang, bang," like come down. And I went down, and I said, "Yes." She goes, "You're always smiling when you look out the window." I go, "I am?" I didn't even know. I didn't even know that. I wasn't even aware of it. And as an adult, when I look back on it, I was like, yeah, because it's like I was free. I was free just to stick my head out the window and do nothing and just watch the world go by, So it was really nice.
Okay, get excited. It's the best part of any podcast, the advertisements. I know, cancel Christmas, because this is going to be a good one. Ever been curious about whether or not betting can actually improve your life? Really? Weird. While you likely understand the importance of a good night's sleep, you might not believe that the simple addition of great sheets can help you get better rest. And if you're interested in testing this theory, Parachute is a great place to start. Parachute creates incredibly comfortable bedding, bath linens designed with a modern, minimalistic aesthetic. Every one of their items is made from premium materials and manufactured by world-class artisans to ensure that they are naturally beautiful, much like me. Luxurious, that's me too, and dare I say, cozy? I mean, is this describing Parachute or me, Josh Peck? Because it's hard to know. Anyway, guys, I've got some Parachute sheets on my bed, and the best way for me to describe it is with a sound, which is, woo, woo, woo. I mean, it is just a reward that I don't deserve. When I slip between those sheets at the end of a hard day of raising a baby and being a podcast mogul and taking the world by storm on a day-to-day basis, I mean, I feel like I don't deserve all this. Am I at a 5-star hotel? Did I just get into the bed of someone from the royal family? No, it's my bed. Josh Peck's bed. And you know what? It can be your bed too. So visit parachutehome.com/curious for free shipping and returns on Parachute's premium quality, ultra soft bedding and linens. They offer a 90-day trial, so if you don't love your new stuff, you just send it back. That's parachutehome.com/curious for free shipping and returns. They offer a 90-day trial, so you don't love it, you send it back. So it sounds like you never really had any moments of like, why me? type thing. It just was part of your existence, and you, with the help of people like your aunt and the people in your life, you were able to sort of, recover, heal from that.
No, that's not, no, that
No?
wasn't the case. When I was in the home, I always asked why me all
Yeah.
the time, because I was like, why? Why am I here? This is unfair. And and why is my mother mentally ill? And why did she put me here? And, why doesn't she want me? And why can't I live with my aunt? And why isn't my aunt my mother? I mean, there was so many questions. But when I got to go home, my happiness was because I wasn't there anymore. I wasn't in the home anymore. And I had my own bed. I had my own home. I had my own key. I could come and go as I, at will. And, I could do what I wanted to do. And those simple pleasures in life that a lot of people take for granted, I did not. But like I said, I did battle with depression.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until maybe in my 30s that the reality of my situation as a child hit me again. I hit that wall again.
'Cause
Where I thought everything was great and there was no more why me. And
Sure.
life was going fantastically and I'm very successful now and
Killing it.
Yeah, and just having a great time and working my ass off and reaping the benefits and enjoying life. And all of a sudden this wall presented itself, as I'm running full speed ahead.
Was it just things that you didn't know that you still had to work through, or was it? It must have been, right?
It was, I always thought, oh, I survived the home.
Yeah, put it to
it's
bed.
past, it's done,
Done with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why those other girls I still keep in touch with always are crying about it. I guess they're not as strong as me.
Right.
And then when I had that moment of, oh my God, and I remember calling one of them, who I'm still friends to this day. I'll just call her Olga.
Okay.
And I called her up, and she goes, hey, how you doing? And I just started crying. And she goes, what happened? I go, nothing. And she goes, oh, yeah.
It got you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it caught up.
It caught up. Everything caught up. Everything that I subconsciously pressed down and that I needed to press down, that I needed those tools at that time to survive. It's just that that circumstance wasn't there. That battlefield wasn't there anymore, but I was still trying to use those same tools of pushing, and my body just rejected it. My spirit, my soul rejected it. It was like, hey, you got all this shit down here. What are you doing? It's gonna come out. And it came out. And it was really difficult. And I met this wonderful playwright, Ensler, and we were on a train one day, and I just started crying. She goes, what's wrong? And I said, I don't know. And she goes, are you all right? I went, no. And I just sobbed the whole train ride. And I went, she took me to her apartment for tea, and she said, what's wrong? And it blurted out. I never told the press. I never told my friends. I never told my college friends. I never told my boyfriends. It just came out, and I said, I was placed in a home for children. She went, what? And I started screaming, don't tell nobody! Because I didn't want anyone to see me as weak. I didn't want anyone to see me as a dented can, damaged goods. And she just hugged me, and I remember pushing her away because I said, I don't need your pity. And she said, I understand. And God bless her for saying that, And she said, I think you need therapy. And I remember saying, fuck you. She goes, you really need therapy.
Yeah, that's the appropriate response.
Yeah. And she introduced me to a wonderful doctor.
Who helped you?
Who helped me. When I went there, and my ex-husband at the time brought me there, and I sat down in this woman's office, Dr. Sue, Grant, and I always would call her Dr. Sue. And I said, I'm only here because this woman, Eve, and, Seth, but I really don't need this. And I just cried the whole session. I didn't even talk.
Oh, that's one of the good ones.
Is it?
Oh, hell yeah. God, it needed to come out. It was going to find a way out.
It needed to come out. And she goes, can I put you down for tomorrow? And I said,
Tomorrow?
That's what I said. I went, tomorrow? Is it that bad? And she goes, yeah. I go, no, I'm fine. I just needed a good cry. She goes, so how does 3 o'clock? I go, I'll see you at 3 o'clock. And and I just kept going back.
Daily sessions?
I daily sessions for 2 weeks.
You fucking needed that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then it went down once a week, and then once every 2 weeks, and then once a month, and,
Then they just the occasional check-in.
No.
No?
Then she said, I think you need to see a psychiatrist because I think you need medication. I go, well, fuck you.
Yeah, right?
And, and so I listened to her because she did so well with me. And when I went to see a psychiatrist, I did the same thing. I go, listen, I don't know why I'm here. I'm just doing this out of respect to Dr. Sue. And she said, I need to run a few tests on you. I need to put you through certain times. Like, sure, I'm going to ace them. And she
No
goes, really?
problem.
I said, yeah, they had psychiatrists in the home. I know how to deal with you guys. And she was just like, and writing down everything. I go, and I know why you're writing everything down. And I know why. And after half an hour, she goes, so... the way she talks, I still see her, by the way. She goes, so yes, I think that you need 2 different kinds of medication. And I go, I'm leaving. I don't need medication.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
And she went, okay, before you leave, let me just say this. I said, what? She goes, your father has diabetes. I go, yeah. He goes, he'll die without his insulin.
Damn it, Doc.
Right?
How you gonna hit me with that one?
Right?
Why you gotta make so much sense? God
Right?
damn it!
I sat right
Jesus.
back down. Yeah. And so I was on it for a year, and it did me a world of good.
Did it?
And yeah, and she slowly weaned me off of it.
And did it? Was it too that it probably allowed you to heal for a minute to give you a reprieve from all that shit? Like, did you just need
Right.
a break for a second from what you've been
Exactly.
carrying? Mm-hmm. Sheesh. Mm-hmm. Was there, God knows, it's completely differently, but I've had my own sort of struggles with depression and whatnot. And I think my fear of taking medication has been because I'm an actor and like that I said, all I have is like my framework for how to summon emotion and feelings. And I'm afraid if I took a pill that it might rewire that. Was that a fear at all for you at that time?
It was.
Sure.
And she and I discussed it, and she said, let's just have a 2-month trial and see what happens. I never did. I mean, my work was never better.
Really?
Because I didn't have all that shit in the way. And therefore, I could actually act. I wasn't relying on the old pain anymore. I wasn't relying on this, or I wasn't thinking I was above the pain anymore. So I would fall into either pocket, either like, I know that pain, I could go there like that. And then there was the other side of it, like, yeah, I know that pain, but you know what? I'm an actor, I'm above that, and I can access it without going there. Like, all of that mental gymnastics that would go on was gone. Not all, a lot of the anxiety and nerves that we deal with as actors was diminished. It wasn't just wiped away completely, thank goodness, because you need that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You need a little bit of that.
Keeps you ready, like prepared.
It keeps you ready, but it keeps you in the moment.
Awake. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And but I remember I did a play on Broadway. I did a play at the Public Theater and my friend George C. Wolfe was like, "You're getting better."
That's a nice compliment.
I said, yeah, I'm finding the character. He goes, no, not just your character. You're getting better as an actor. What's going on with you? Yeah, it was like that. And when I went to Broadway the first time, it was, I could just work. There was a freedom in it. And it was very strange. So when she was weaning me off of it, I was afraid to get off of it.
Of course, if it's working.
If it's working,
Right.
you know what I mean? And so, you know, yeah. So when other actors say that to me, they're like, "Oh, I would never get on medication because it would kill, you know, this or that." And I would just go, mm-hmm. They go, "What do you think?" And I go, I think that you should decide for yourself. You know, I would never tell anybody because my biochemistry is completely different than yours. So
Sure.
I don't know how it would work for you. You know, and so, you know, it's just this is a whole project on its own, and you're your own shit too. So, you know.
I know what you mean, and I would hate to sound like blanket it all into one way of working, but similarly, I have, and I wish I could name him, but I can't. I'd heard from a friend who was friends with like a very, very talented writer, director, actor, someone who's like, you know, would get their phone calls picked up by pretty much anyone, and had a dip in his career as we all have, and sort of came back swinging just on every front, crushing it. My buddy asked him, said, "What changed? What did it?" And he said, "Antidepressants." and it's not, obviously not advocating for everyone, but for him in that moment, and I so know that to be true, of like all that mental masturbation, all that extra shit that we carry with us and inhibit us from living truly in the moment and not being, you know, where I can only speak for myself, but I will find that those moments when I'm truly feeling free and there, or when I'm not worried about all that shit from my past or in projection and fear of the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good. And it also gives you confidence that
you're enough.
I don't know about it, you're enough, but that you're good at your craft.
You're enough.
You know,
yeah.
right.
Like good enough. Yeah.
Okay, that's I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And you know, but it's like, wait a minute, I don't have to be a constant walking emotional mess to access some real emotions on the screen or on the stage. You're like,
Yeah.
shit, I'm a badass. I could do it without that.
I
Without
know
all
how to
that
do
junk.
this.
I know how to do it. You know what I mean? And it's like it's pretty awesome. You know, it's even like when I was into sports too. You know, when you're like gearing up for the game day.
Yeah.
You know, and also, you know, even in a tennis match, I would go to the tennis courts as an adult and like, I'm gonna smash it, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna win. And then when I was on the medication and I went to the tennis court, I was calm as a cucumber.
Yeah.
I was calm as a cucumber because I was like, I know I'm good, I'm gonna beat your ass. So it was different.
It's confident.
It's confident. It's still game day. I got my game face on and I'm gonna crush you. But it wasn't all that extra shit.
Right.
You know, it was just like, you know, and it got to the point where nobody wanted to play against me except my friend Peter. You know?
Thanks, Peter, for continuing to play, though. It's funny, and I don't know what'll happen, but you know Conor McGregor, the fighter? I know you're a huge boxing fan, fighting. Anyway, he's fighting Khabib in 2 weeks. It's going to be this huge pay-per-view, and I was fascinated watching their press conference because McGregor is, and to a certain extent, it's a shtick because you got to sell the fight, and he's great at it, like a Mayweather is with having the personality. But he just seemed out of his mind. It was similar to what you're saying with the, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to fuck him up. And here's this guy, Khabib, who's unbeaten, sitting there, cool as a cucumber, stoic, like, oh, you're going to do this, Conor? You're going to do the Conor thing? Right. All right, have at it. You know, like, I'll see you in the fucking ring in 2 weeks and we'll handle it. Yeah. And my money's on Khabib.
Oh, yeah?
A little bit. Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that... I'm interested to, and I'd love to hear your process, but much to what you're saying is when I've heard sort of the debate between like method acting in the traditional way and the Meisner technique or what Sandy Meisner thought of method, which was that, and I battle with this too, is that method is so much of being able to access that old pain. And I remember even interviewing Vincent right here, and he said, he's like, you should probably be pulling from memories that are older than 7 years because it's locked in at that point. Like it's made an indelible mark if it's older than that. And then there was, the Meisner approach to it, which was like anyone that's done any amount of work on themselves has worked on letting go of those deep pains that come from childhood or loss or a breakup or what have you, or financial loss or what have you. And so we must use the imagination because for most of us, if we're not putting that shit to bed, it's going to make us unhappy in our normal lives. Like, so for me, have always felt this, I'd vacillate in between of like, I've done my fair share of therapy and 12-step and all that. And a lot of my pain from my past I've worked on, but I don't feel like it's as raw and pure to access in my acting if I want to use the method approach. So do you have any feelings about that? Like what's your, and also what's your process?
I haven't been able to articulate my process.
That's okay.
And I'm still learning, and I hope I continue to keep learning, But I tried method, and it brought me way too deep into a dark place. The Meisner, it was cool too, and I get it and everything. But in my therapy, what I realized was that I've been acting for a very, very long time because of the masks, the many masks that I had to wear as a child. And it didn't take intense thought process or, reaching deep back or whatever. It was click on a dime. And what I'm trying to remember is that ease. That's what I'm trying to master now. It's excuse me, when I was a kid in the home, we would still go to what they called outside school. The super smart kids got to go to outside school, to these schools that were for, intellectually advanced children.
Sure.
And going to those schools, you enter into a world of privilege because the home was upstate New York, in a middle to upper middle class to really rich communities. And so I would lie. They go, oh, what did your mom cook last night? Oh my gosh, you know what mom cooked last night? She cooked this roasted chicken where the rice was just perfect, and it just accompanied. I was full of shit, and they fucking bought everything, hook, line, and sinker. Hook, line, and sinker. I remember they would say, you want to have a sleepover? No, father's picking me up in the car. We're going to go down to the city and spend the weekend in the city.
Lovely.
Really? They're like, yeah. Bang, on a dime, I could just go into a different character in just like that. And even when I would have home visits with my mother was very abusive, and I would go back to my aunt's house, and I would have a black eye or a busted lip, and she would go, what happened? I go, I fell. Oh my God, again? I go, I know, I'm so clumsy, And she goes, well, what happened? On a dime. It wasn't rehearsed on the way home.
Right.
I would come up with this fantastic, believable story, and I would remember that story the following week. People say, just stick with the truth, it's the best thing, you'll never, I could remember my lie. Now that I'm an adult, I am the worst liar.
Sure.
I have such such an intense anxiety attack when I start to lie because of the guilt that I have of all the lying I did as a child. But when I started going to see my psychiatrist, and when I was on medication, I was like, wow, because I was seeing this movie. It was Denzel Washington, or was it Wesley Snipes? One of Spike Lee's movie about they wanted to reconnect with that third grade love, that first love, where it was so easy, and it was pure. So in a weird, sicky way of how my mind thinks, I want to get to that, back to that pure make-believe, that pure lying of imitating a whole different life.
Yeah.
On a dime, like bang. How can I do that? How can I do that when I'm preparing for a role and I walk on set, your first day, you're scared. I don't care who you are, because if you're not scared, you're an asshole, you know? And you're worried about judgment from other people, and you're like, okay. You know, and you get on your mark and all the jitters are going and everything like that. I want to get to that point where I'm on my mark. I know exactly where I'm going to go. Even if I don't know where I'm going to go, I know that I'm going to get there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That ease of just being somebody else in that moment. And what I'm discovering is you could easily become someone else if you find a bit of truth of who you are in that someone else. You know, where people say, oh, no, you have to leave who you are completely behind. No, that's BS. That's BS. That's when you could see someone acting. You know what I'm saying? And it's
Is that part of the prep, though? Is that your prep, is doing that detective work of finding a way in?
yeah.
And that's the work.
That's
right?
the work. That's the work. And I remember telling Peter Weir when I did Fearless, this movie with Jeff Bridges.
Of course.
And Isabella Rossellini. He said, I need you to do another take. I go, I can't do it. And he goes, why? I said, it's not going to be as good. I said, what do you mean? I said, because then if I do the next take, I'm just going to be faking it. And he said, yeah, that's called acting. And I said, don't talk down to me. He goes, I'm not. I'm just bewildered that you actually said that out loud. And I started laughing. I said, you're a jerk. And he goes, you don't understand that you're good? And I had no words for him.
Of course.
I didn't think that.
I get that.
You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
said, what? He goes, let's try it. Just trust that you could fake it again. Let's just try it.
Yeah.
And I said, you're belittling me, you're making fun of me. He goes, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. He goes, because I kind of want to see if you could do it. And then the competitiveness came in. That's where I connected to my childhood. You know what I'm saying?
You about to see some shit, Peter Weir.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Boom, hit it. Wow, that was really good. Let's do it again. I go, well, if it was really good, why do you want to do it again?
Yeah, let's go get
He goes,
lunch.
Yeah, he goes, because I think you could do even better. And then I remember walking away after the freaking 20th take. He said, wow, your technique is amazing. I go, what technique? And it was, you know, and it was that, you know what I mean? And that's when it started. That's when I started thinking about acting in a very, very different way, you know. And I remember telling Peter Weir, and I said, I used to lie when I was a kid. And he goes, you did? I said, yeah. I said, I remember one time, I know this is horrible. I said, one time I felt guilty because I didn't want to go to this girl's sleepover, and nobody ever wanted to be her friend, you know, because she had acne, she was overweight, you know what I mean? She was fatter than I was.
That's my girl.
You
I
know?
identify with that in a big way.
And I loved always going to her house because we could just be, you know, we
Yeah.
were silly and goofy and stuff. And I couldn't go to her sleepover, and I knew nobody else was going to go. But I wanted to go on a home visit to my aunt. So you know what I did? I put a scarf on my head, and I went to her house. I go, I can't be with you because I have to go get chemo. She went, what? I go, yes.
That's deep. That's dark.
That's deep, and that's dark, and that's where I was.
Well done.
Because I didn't want to hurt her feelings.
That's a good lie.
It's a good lie. The only problem was the next week when I was back at school, I didn't have the headscarf.
Right.
And then she goes, what happened? I go, it was a miracle. The chemo worked.
Yeah. I got that new chemo.
Yeah, so it's like, and Peter goes, "That's remarkable." I said, "That's psychotic." And he goes, "You did what you had to do." He says, "Well, look at it this way. You were actually trying to be generous." And I said, "Yeah,
Okay.
but I don't think using cancer
Right.
was the right way to go." And he said, "Well, how old were you?" I said, "I was 9."
24? No.
No, right, 3 or 4. I said, "I was 9." And he goes, "All right.
You're allowed.
You're allowed. It's all right."
My buddy has something called a benign tremor, which he just kind of shakes.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking to this actor who's on Ray Donovan. And his character on the show is Parkinson's. So they meet at a party. And the guy just makes the leap. Uh-oh. Whoa, for 1 sec.
Did you unplug it?
I didn't. Let me try. Boom, boom. Okay. Yeah, so my buddy has this benign tremor, meets this actor who plays someone with Parkinson's on Ray Donovan at this party. And the guy just made the leap to believe, because he saw this tremor in my buddy's hand, and they were talking about the character. He was like, "So how long have you had it?" And my buddy was like, "Couple years." And they get into this whole deep talk, and the guy's like, "Let's exchange numbers, and I want to do an event for you." And my buddy's like, "That would really mean a lot to me." And like, he was so afraid to correct him and be like, "Actually, it's benign.
Right.
I'm fine. I just shake a little." And it was like, so I totally get, like, with a lie like that, you gotta ride it all the way.
Yeah.
You ain't correcting that one.
Right.
And so being in this moment, like, where you're with someone like Peter Weir, who's like a master, and you've gotten to work with sort of like these titans, and your first project, Do the Right Thing?
Mm-hmm.
So what was it like being on that set?
It was intimidating. God bless Danny Aiello and John Turturro and the DP Ernest Dickinson, because they really, really looked out for me. Because when my bravado was down, I remember Danny Aiello looked at me. He goes, "You play tough, but you're a sweet kid." And I said, "I don't play tough." He goes, "Yeah, I get you, but I see the sweetness too. Come sit with me, kid." And I was like, "Really, Mr. Aiello?" No, you call me Danny. Come sit with me. And I would go on set and just watch him and John Turturro work and everything. And I was just like, and this was before I started shooting. And it was like, "What are you doing here? What are you doing here?" And I was like, "I just want to come to set." But I knew what I was doing. I wanted to watch. I wanted to watch the people that I respected who were on the film, see how it's done. Because Spike just kind of picked me up and threw me into the deep end. And
Did you audition for him?
I auditioned for him. And Robbie Reed was like, "That was one of the best auditions I ever had." And in hindsight, it was because of my childhood, I know how to play another character. I know how to step into a different circumstance, into a different world. I was dipping back and forth in different worlds continuously, so it was like, make-believe is easy for me. It's easy for me. Expressing that make-believe, acting out that make-believe in front of people, that's the work.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's the work.
The performance aspect, yeah.
And, it's, so with Do the Right Thing, I wasn't sure of what I was doing initially. And then once I stepped into it with Spike, because when you act with Spike, most people go like, "Spike ain't a real actor," or whatever. But when you're in a scene with him, he's so game that he's created that reality so easily that you just slip right in. And it was just like, wow, you know, and it was pretty awesome. It was pretty amazing.
And when you're watching him, I mean, not that you necessarily had the reference then, but when you're watching a young Spike Lee like that, does he feel more like a fresh kid out of NYU film school, or does he feel like a fully realized director? Like, was it easy to see, like, oh yeah, this kid's gonna make something great and continue to do it?
I didn't see him as someone fresh out of NYU. I saw someone that knew exactly what he was doing.
So he was fully realized even
No.
then? Not yet?
No. He knew exactly what he was doing for who he was then.
Yeah.
But he was not an amateur by far. And I've worked with him since then,
Right.
recently. And the people on the set were really quiet, and I was wondering, and then his wife Tanya goes, "You and Spike work so well together. I don't know why you haven't worked together sooner." And I looked at Spike, and he just smiled at me. And he goes, "Everybody come here." And he goes, "Today, to date, is 30 years from the last time I worked with this girl." And we both started bawling.
Oh, man.
We both started crying. And it's so funny because our relationship is so solid that I was crying. I was like, "Stop, are you messing my fucking makeup? I don't want to go back to makeup." And he started laughing. And I was like, "Come on, let's get to work." And he was like, "Right." Bang. We went right back in step with each other. That said, I saw his growth. He saw my growth. You know what I mean? He is so in pocket. He's so at ease. He's different. He's different. And but yet he's still open to getting better and to learning. And, you know, he gave me a direction, and on that set, nobody questioned his direction. He gave me a direction. I went, "No, I don't want to do that." They was like,
Really?
"Yeah." And I was like, "What? Oh, none of y'all ever questioned him?" And Spike laughed so hard and everything. He goes, "What?" He goes, "Why?" We had a conversation. He goes, "Try it." I go, "Okay." Tried it. He goes, "Okay, good. You're right with that. Let's continue." It was just so easy with him and so fantastic. And we both said, we got to do it again. We got to work with each other again. And it's nice to see the growth in each other 30 years later. It was pretty, I mean, we couldn't stop crying throughout the whole shoot. And even when we wrapped, he gathered the entire crew around us again, and to thank me and stuff. And again, we were just bawling. Because it's special. This man changed my life, dude. Like, he changed my freaking life.
Oh, yeah.
He saw something in me, you know what I'm saying? And it was just like, it's pretty amazing. It's a pretty fantastic story, you know? You see someone at a club, she curses you out, you laugh in her face, she curses you out again. You tell her tonight is fate, she's like, "Oh yeah, well, you wish, fuck you." You know, I'm gonna put you in a movie. I was a college kid. I was a biochem major.
Was he hitting on you?
No.
No?
No.
He just saw, he was intrigued.
He was intrigued. I mean, what I'm saying is that I thought I was going to be a scientist.
Yeah.
I was in a different mindset. I didn't have stars in my eyes. I didn't say like, "Ooh, Spike Lee." You know, I was like, "You're annoying." You know what I mean? So it was just to think of that, how he didn't give up, because he should have given up on me. I was an asshole. You know, and he just couldn't stop laughing. And, you know, and later on I said, "Why did you keep laughing at me? Why were you making fun?" He goes, "I wasn't laughing at you." He goes, "I was excited by you. And I couldn't believe I found my girl for the movie." You know, and I was like, "Oh," you know, so it's like, this man is extraordinary. He's an extraordinary person in my life. He changed. He just took the path that I thought I was on and went, "No, you're going this way, girl."
Wow.
Like, that's incredible.
Just a quick interruption for an advertisement because I need the money. Anyway, Squarespace, let me ask you something. Do you want to turn your cool idea into a new website? Showcase your work, blog or publish content, sell products and services of all kinds? Well, Squarespace, they're going to help you do that. Because they have beautiful templates created by world-class designers. I mean, how nice is a template? So you don't even have to think that much. You're just like, yeah, I want that. You know, you plug it in, boom, you're like halfway there already. Plus, they've got powerful e-commerce functionality that lets you sell anything online, the ability to customize the look and feel, settings, products, and more with just a few clicks. They got analytics that can help you grow in real time. Because listen, you got to know who's coming to your site, who's checking stuff out, who's buying, who's not. Maybe you got like an untapped resource because you're really hot in Omaha and you had no idea. Well, Squarespace is going to help. They're going to help you because they're going to help you make it yourself. You're going to easily create a website that you make, and they got 24/7 award-winning customer support because when shit gets weird, you're going to need a helping hand. And who's going to be there for you? Not your Uncle Josh, Squarespace. So go to squarespace.com/curious for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use the offer code CURIOUS to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. That's squarespace.com/curious. But every story has that, right? Like those 1 or 2 or 3 apostles who reveal themselves where there's like this kismic moment where, because he needed you as much as you needed him, you just didn't know it, right? Like you were satisfying. I can only imagine the joy for someone like that who takes their art and their passion so seriously to see you that night and all of a sudden his problem was solved. Because I'm sure, you know, I always love hearing that when an actor walks into a room and just satisfies because a writer and a director create a problem for themselves. Because they've got this character in their mind and it's dressed up and glowing and doing everything they wanted to. And then they see 20 people come in and audition. They're like, oh God, we're screwed. No one hears the music that I hear. And so for him to see you there like that, it must have been like, oh, this is it. It's revelatory.
Yeah.
You know? Can you distill down into one thing what you think it has so much to do with what Spike's greatness is? Because I'm a massive fan and I'm fascinated by people like that who have done so much good work time and time again.
He doesn't look for movie stars. He looks for real people who have the ability to act well. So that's his genius. You know what I'm saying? He's not really thinking about this person is going to bring the box office. He's going, this person is going to bring the rain. They're going to bring the power to this. And they're going to bring an authentic feel of what a real human being would be in that situation. Even though sometimes his style is a bit over the top at times or very satirical or what have you, he looks for people who have an authentic voice, an authentic soul, and a realness that will draw the audience in. And that's a gift. That's a huge gift. You know, if you think about the people he's given a shot to, you know, Annabella Sciorra, Wesley Snipes, Denzel Washington, oh gosh, I forgot his name. Snakes on a Plane.
Oh, Sam
Jackson.
Yeah.
You know, and the list goes on. And, you know, and you think about Black Klansman now. You know, he has changed the course for so many people. Robin Harris. He saw him in a nightclub doing stand-up. He goes, that's my guy.
Yeah.
You know? Robin Harris was doing little tiny clubs in, like, South Central Los Angeles. Spike saw him and goes, that man's the truth.
It's clear. I think it's, you know, I asked it about, like, I interviewed Wayne Brady, who took over in Hamilton for Leslie Odom Jr., and has known Lin-Manuel forever. And it seems to me that that is the through line with so many people, to your point of like this clarity of vision and an unwavering dedication to that, like a deep belief in like, this is what is required to execute what I need, and I can't do it any other way.
Yeah. You know, you said something about, you know, actors and directors creating problems. Writers creating a problem with them, trying to find the right actor. In the beginning of my career, I always thought I sucked in auditions.
Yeah.
Because I was so nervous. I've lost out on a couple of roles that I really wanted because I just sucked in the audition process, during the audition process. And I always, to this day, I still think that the audition process is unfair.
Totally.
You know, it's like, it's kind of like you're part of a lineup, but nobody else is in the lineup with you except you. You know what I mean? You're standing there alone against the wall.
Yeah.
And then they say, okay, perform. And it's just like, and it wasn't until I started doing Broadway where I got better at auditioning. And what was strange is that during that time, I didn't have to audition anymore. You know what I mean? And it was weird. But there was this one play where they were like, everybody's auditioning. I don't care who you are. If you want this part, you have to audition. The only person that's not auditioning is the lead. Okay. And it was a Craig Lucas play. I wanted to be in it, you know. It was at MTC, you know. That's amazing. And Broadway gave me a confidence that I never had. Because during the rehearsal process, you have to make, everyone sees your mistakes. Everyone sees your process. Everyone sees how you're finding and figuring out the character. You know what I mean? Because you're locked in that room for 3 weeks. It's not like a movie where they give you a script and you got a month to prepare all by yourself.
And then show up ready.
Exactly. Here's a script, get in the room, let's work it out. And you're like, oh my gosh.
Like make a fool of yourself.
And
Try
make a fool of yourself. Yeah, and fall on your face and deal with the judgment from the other actors, deal with the pain of messing up and deal with all of these things. And the room that you're rehearsing in is blank.
Yeah.
It's sterile. You know what I mean? There's no comfort in that room to find. You know, and the only comfort to find is everyone's in the same boat as you are. When you realize that, a freedom comes to you. You know, you break through and stuff. So it's like if someone's judging you in that rehearsal room, they are a jerk. They're a jerk and they could kiss my ass. Exactly. You know, I've gotten to that place now and it feels really good. You know, I'm just like, all right, you know what? You'll figure it out. We need each other. So stop wasting your time and emotion and energy judging me. You figure out your shit so we both could shine.
Fuck yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like that. And so once I was able to figure that out in the rehearsal space for a Broadway show, I had to audition again for a movie. And I didn't have to for so long. I mean, I'm talking about years, man, right? And I remember telling Tarek, my manager, he goes, listen, I know it's insulting, but they want you to read. I go, all right. He went, what? He goes, oh my God. I said, yeah, I'll read for them. I'm going to turn that shit out. Let's go. And he was like, really? I go, yeah. Because I wasn't intimidated of the room anymore. Yeah. I wasn't intimidated by the sterileness. I wasn't intimidated by them sitting behind that desk. You know, those fold-out tables and stuff. And
the judge and jury.
Yeah. You know?
Yeah, it's all bullshit.
It's all bullshit because it's like, I'm right for the roles, so you know what? I need this job because I want it, but you need me because I'm going to make your play even better.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to make your movie even better. I'm going to be part of your team, and we're gonna crush this.
And that's a dance. And that's, I've now sort of, and I so identify with that and that feeling, and I remember walking on sets, and I would almost like, I would want my first fuck up to come quickly, like like
I
I'm like,
love that.
let me get this out of the way, like, because
Yeah.
it's coming.
Right.
I'm gonna botch a line. I'm gonna fall out of it. It's because I'm human and I'm an artist, and this isn't a science, and shit happens. And now, also, like, when that shit happens, like, I used to like quiver inside and be like, God, what? Like, I would project that they're behind Video Village, like watching the monitors, going like, this fucking amateur kid, like this chump, like, Jesus, I've confirmed their suspicion about me that I don't belong there. And like now, when I fuck up, I like look right in the camera, I'm like, what? Like, and what? Do it fucking again. Let's go again. Like, because and that, I think that just comes from time, right?
Experience.
Yeah.
You gotta keep working to get better.
Not dying from rejection or from humiliation or the litany of things that we experience, when you've had a long, and I'm a mere mortal compared to what you've done, but like, you know what I mean? It's that if you spent, Chris Rock has one of my favorite quotes, which is like, if you've been in this business 10 years, I like you. If you've been in it 20 years, I love you. And for 30 years, you're a fucking legend. Like, he's like, I respect time. Like, if you've been able to survive. He's like, I don't really care what you've done, but if you've been able to get parts and work for a long time, that's really all you could say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's so many ups and downs in between.
Yeah. And that's also one thing. The ups and downs never scared me. Because I had that all my life. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not working right now. Okay, so get me a voiceover. So get me this or get me that, or, I really don't need the money. I just want to work. Just get me something that I believe in. Don't get me just whatever.
Yeah.
But get me something I believe in so I could just keep oiling the machine. You know what I mean? And I think that the red carpet has done such a disservice to acting and to actors. You know what I mean? It's that Hollywood fantasy and glamour that you would think that would have grown out of already. It's, and I'm not talking about Hollywood. I'm talking about the world at large, because it's twofold. It's the audience wants it just as much as Hollywood wants it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They want to provide the fantasy, and the audience wants to
consume it.
Yes. And so there was a moment where, if you look like the 70s and the 80s and a little bit of where the red carpet wasn't so glamorous. People would just show up looking regular. You know what I mean? And then that went away because they started making fun of women. Oh, she looks so shabby. She looks so downtrodden. And why is she wearing that? And all that added pressure, And then you see people taking jobs that are beneath them because they want to keep up with the Joneses and keep that status it's not about money. It's about paying that mortgage on that multi-million-dollar house so that they can say, I'm a rock star.
And be in the magazines.
And be in the magazines and be in all this and
about.
stuff. And it's a dangerous trap. You know what I mean? And, I don't want to say their name, but there's this actress who I look up to and I hold in high regard, and she's done film, television, and Broadway, and always crushed. I've never seen her in a bad performance ever, right? And there was a time where we shared the same hairdresser, and the hairdresser told me, I just came back from so-and-so's house apartment. I go, oh, and over here, I go, she lives over there? He goes, yeah, in a studio apartment. I went, why? He goes, because she can't afford anything else. I said, what? Well, the roles she chooses, they don't make any money. And I said, this is so screwed up. Someone like that should be living high on the hog.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now that person is making money, a lot of money. Now, finally, people are like, well, not finally, like I would say in the past 10 years, people started really,
They got hip.
yeah, they got hip and everything like that. But the 10 years prior, you know what I mean? And what I marveled at her when you would see her, she wasn't embarrassed or ashamed that she lived in a studio apartment. She wasn't embarrassed or ashamed when we would see her at a party. She didn't have a designer dress on. She had a nice dress, maybe from Macy's.
Yeah.
But it was a nice dress.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And she didn't care. And she taught me such a valuable lesson because I was getting sucked up into that. Because you do.
Oh, it's so intoxicating.
It's so intoxicating. And you do. And then I was like, wait a minute. If this person who I think is the shit doesn't give a shit, why am I giving a shit? You know what I mean? Like, what? Wow, man. I let it all go.
Yeah.
I still like to dress up, but it's not so much about keeping up with the Joneses. It's because I'm Puerto Rican. I like to look cute.
Well, I don't blame
you. Know what I mean?
And you do a good job.
Oh, well, thank you very
Of
much.
course.
You know, but that's where, that's where my obsession was with hats. People are like, oh, you like to wear hats? I go, I always like to wear hats. Why? Because I didn't always like to do my hair. And the way I was taught, you don't leave the house without looking cute.
Yeah.
So I put a hat on,
Right.
and stuff. And so it's like, I went on a tangent, but it's pretty extraordinary. And, and it makes me sad when you see someone so talented who can't handle the highs and lows because there's not a proper support system in Hollywood for that, which there should be.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And so they fall into drugs or they fall into deep depression, and then you see them at the party and they're drunk and they're asking for a job and it goes on and people make fun of them. And I remember I was at one party and this certain actor, he was a rock star, and someone was making fun of him and like, oh my God, did he fall off? And I go, who are you to say that? Who are you to say? I said, you know what? Excuse me. They go, where you going? I go, I don't want to be around you. I don't want to be around someone like you. You're negative, man.
God bless. Good for you.
And well, it's not good for me. It's like you're a jerk, man. You know what I mean? Like, I know I could be an asshole. I own my assholeness. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not doing it to make someone feel bad. I'm just a jerk who kind of trips up every now and then and puts my foot in my mouth, But I'm not doing it with any malice behind it. I'm not snickering at somebody else. That's crazy. It's bananas.
And couldn't it kills me when people believe that it couldn't be any one of us next. Like,
oh my God, right?
Because we've all suffered from that thing. And maybe if you have a strong enough, whatever it is, support system, so you don't go into the drugs or the alcohol side, but nevertheless, just the highs and lows of a career, because it's fucking cyclical. And even, I interviewed Phil Rosenthal, who created Everybody Loves Raymond, for the podcast. And I remember him saying, he's like, Josh, I was finished. He's like, I was in the last season of Raymond. It was a hit. We were going out on top, 250 episodes. I wanted to do a spin-off because I wanted to keep the writers employed, who I loved. And I love my actors. So I had the idea, Brad Garrett's family, his side of things, we're going to do a spin-off. And I went to CBS and I said, let's make this show. And they said, well, let's make a pilot. He said, no, what? 250 episodes, #1 show on TV. Like, give me a season because I'm not going to be able to keep my writers. They said, no, Phil, we think a pilot's enough. And he said, forget it. He's like, Josh, if I couldn't have had any more momentum and power behind me than that moment. And the business said, fuck yourself. He's like, so that tells you, but I so identify with what you're saying too, because it is intoxicating and we've all had moments where it's easy to get sort of caught up in that allure of being around famous people and having those cool experiences one night after the next and chasing that next big thing. And I find what's so insidious for actors, or when you'll see an actor who, I'll talk amongst my buddies, who do brilliant work, and then all of a sudden they have a couple years of like, where it's not the right project, or they're petering out, or they've lost something. And amongst my friends, or to myself, I'll be like, too famous. Like I'll think like, because I know certain people that have fallen in love with living the life, but they forget that nothing about fame is real. And if there's anything great about an actor or a performance that sings, you're like, I know that guy. Like, I know that person. And as soon as you start disconnecting from the things that grounded you and inspired you about life and the human condition and become obsessed about swag bags and going to the fucking Soho house is where I think, you start to get lost. Right?
Yeah. I mean, unless you know how to balance it. I've seen people who've been able to balance it, and they do it. I'm just, if I go to the Soho houses, it's going to be once in a blue moon. It's just I have too much anxiety. I've learned through therapy that to accept that part of myself, and Tarek, my manager, he knows that too. He goes, "Oh, so and so's having a party. You're going to hate it." I'm like, "Okay, thank you." And so
Yeah.
but there's a few people that can balance it, and God bless them, because that's hard to do.
I'm
That's really
fascinated
hard.
by that
And
because I'm not that way.
I'm not that way, man. Here's the thing why I love boxing so much. One of the many reasons why I love boxing so much. You could be champion. You could work, because you have to work your way up to become a champion. It takes years. Except if you're Lomachenko, but even him, he had 300 amateur fights before he went
Right.
for a title fight. Excuse me, and became champion overnight. But there are champions who have, quote unquote, fallen off or lost their title, never had been able to regain it, may have had some medical issues, may have had some addiction issues, or both. In the boxing world, if that former champion walks into the arena, people stand up, stick their hand out and say, "Hey, champ, it's good to see you." They don't do that in Hollywood.
Nah.
They don't do it. It doesn't matter. I've seen champs come into a venue or a boxing party. Those are the parties I live for. I could go all the time.
It's the best.
Yeah, and they could be. I've seen former champs stagger drunk into a party. And everyone goes, "Oh my God, he's a mess." They go, "Yeah, but he's still a champ, man. How you doing, champ? How you been? Can I take a picture with you?" And I love that. I love that. Even when they show a current champ who's gonna have a title fight coming up, and they boo him, that's just part of the game. It's just part of the fun, and that fighter knows it, so they don't take it personally. All the booing. It's just part of the, whatever.
Yeah.
But the respect never fades. It never fades. It's not like where in football they say you're only as good as your last game, and they apply that to our industry as well. No. If you won just once, you will always be remembered for that, and you will always be respected and upheld for that, even just that one win. Because everyone knows how hard what it took to get there.
Yeah.
How can you discount that, man? You know what I'm saying? So that's fascinating.
I saw Sugar Ray Leonard at Bloomingdale's.
Autumn wants to know what kind of car you have to put money in your meter.
Yes.
She'll do it.
I saw Sugar Ray Leonard at Bloomingdale's and almost had a coronary.
Oh my gosh.
I couldn't, and my wife was with me, who's not as familiar with boxing, and so she was making fun of me because I literally was like, "Excuse me, Mr. Champ." Yes. I'm like, could I have a picture, please? And he couldn't have been sweeter. And you know what other great phrase from boxing that I love or saying is, the boxer makes the trainer doesn't make the boxer.
Yeah.
And in our business, especially where it's so easy to be like, if I only had this agent or I had that director or this thing, if only, but it's nah, it's got to be undeniable, right?
Yeah. It's a beautiful, ugly, brutal, barbaric, joyous world. It's a very complicated love-hate relationship I have with boxing, because when I see, I fall in love with these champions. I do. I love it so much, and it stems directly from my childhood. You know what I mean? I've gotten knocked down so many times, and I've always gotten back up. Even though the times in the deepest, darkest days of depression, I always would say to myself, get up, champ, get up, champ, get up, champ. And I would. And I would. And it's because boxing gave me that. Because I've been watching boxing since I was a toddler. You know what I'm saying? And I've cried for Willie Benitez Jr. when he lost to Sugar Ray Leonard. You know what I mean? I cried when Muhammad Ali lost to Frazier. I cried when Mike Tyson bit Holyfield's ear. We were at a party watching it. It was a fight party at this guy house, Alex Rockwell's house. And he bites Evander's ear. Everyone's laughing and screaming and jumping for joy. I went, no! And I started crying. I went, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And they were like, why? What's wrong with you? I said, he bit another man's ear. What are you guys? It's just, no, this is horrible. And they go, I know, right? I said, not only for Evander. Mike Tyson must feel like shit right now.
Right. That
he lost his cool. He lost his cool and didn't adhere to the rules of boxing. I said, I have to leave the party. And I left the party. You know what I mean? Like, because I've been in that situation. I never bit off a motherfucker's ear. You know what I'm saying?
Close,
you know what I'm saying?
I can imagine.
Close.
Yeah.
I've gotten close. I've been that jerk where I lost my cool because it's like, you know, life gets at you so hard. You know what I mean? And, you know, and one thing that boxing also taught me, every single time you lose your cool, you'll lose the fight. Every single time. And when I saw that in Tyson, I was like, his mental state is not good. He's not good. Oh my God, he's gonna go down. And I remember one of the people in that party years later go, do you remember, how did you call that? I said, because he bit a motherfucker's ear.
Right.
Who does that?
Yeah.
You have issues.
It's hard
to recover. It came to the surface in front of the world. In front of the world. That's crazy. That's crazy. And, you know, and I just, you know, when I was talking to Sugar Ray Leonard, he was one of my idols too. He is. When I met him on the red carpet at the Boxing Hall of Fame in Nevada, I started shaking. And he goes, I said, hi, champ, it's nice to meet you. He goes, you're all right? And I went, no. He goes, you're shaking. Are you ill? And he's calling people over. I go, stop. And he goes, what's wrong? And I said, I can't believe I'm meeting you. And he goes, really? I said, when you fought Willie Benitez, he went, whoa. You know who Willie Benitez is? I said, it's the first fight I ever cried at. Because you beat the Puerto Rican champ. The youngest champ in the world. You beat. He goes, I'm sorry. I said, no. I said, I cried for Willie, but I also cried because I felt guilty because I had a crush on you. And he fell out laughing, and he goes, yeah, as a Puerto Rican, I'm not supposed to root for you. And he went, oh, let's take this picture, darling. And if you see that picture, I have the most doofus grin on my face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was just because, not only because he was a great champion, but when he retired, his story, he fell into depression and and became an alcoholic. And the boxing world didn't give up on him though. Everybody was like, come on, champ, you could pull through. And he did.
Yeah.
He did. He's been sober for ages, you know? And he's, you know, you saw him.
He's got a glow.
He's got a glow, man.
Oh, man.
That's inspiring to me.
He was wearing Skechers. I couldn't believe it. So Sugar Ray Leonard, and then I found out he was sponsored. I'm like, okay.
All
right.
Yeah, man.
All right. So, you know, the question that I ask to close every podcast of everyone I interview is, what would you say are the 1 or 3 or 5 Rosie Perez commandments, like indelible truths that have revealed themselves to you that you'd want to impress upon another person? You could take a second.
Shit, I need a second for that one. Sick. Oh my God.
And it could just be one.
Oh my God. I would say the number one, first and foremost, are the inspiring words of hope that my aunt would always say. Tomorrow's another fucking day. You know, just hang on. Tomorrow's another fucking day. You know, and yeah, it's good to live in the present. And I hate when people say, well, don't think about tomorrow. Some motherfuckers got to think about tomorrow, you know, because today is kind of hellish. You know what I'm saying? And tomorrow's another fucking day. So that's number one. Number two, Helen Thomas, foreign press correspondent, served under 8 presidents. I always looked up to her. And I'm a bit wonky when it comes to politics. I love politics because politics have been affecting my life since I was young. Being in the welfare system, the child welfare system, that's politics, baby. Because policy affected how and when I was getting out, right? She was getting an award. President Clinton was giving her award, and her speech was outstanding. And she said that her first assignment was to go over to France to cover President Kennedy and his wife. And she was so afraid and nervous. And she was bunking up with another journalist, a female journalist in France who she looked up to. And she brought all her notes, and she was going over her notes and rewriting her notes. And the senior journalist looked at her and said, enough with the notes. Go downstairs and get a bottle of wine. She goes, what? But tomorrow morning. She goes, go downstairs and get another bottle of wine. You need to relax. All right? And she said, all right. She goes down and she gets a bottle of wine, and she goes, why are you picking the cheap stuff?
Some people prefer that.
You know? And she goes, well, I don't know. She goes, no, darling. Life's too short to drink the house wine. Go back down and get the good stuff. And she said, so I'll leave you with this, audience. Life's too short to drink the house wine. Always go back for the good stuff. And I loved that. You know what I mean? And that to me was about letting go. And it's not about, you know, making it rain with the dollars. That's not the message. The message is you done your homework. You are ready. Relax.
Yeah.
Relax. Treat yourself right. Take care of yourself. Get that good bottle. So that's another one. How many do I have to do now?
No, that's perfect. We could drop the mic there. That was beautiful. That hit me. That resonated with me.
Oh, yeah?
I'm about to be driving out of here being like, drink the good bottle. Drink the good shit.
Oh, another one.
Okay.
Got 2 more for you.
I'm ready.
My friend George C. Wolfe. Backstage, first night, opening night at the Public Theater. Terrified. Serious play about Desert Storm, right? I have to open up the freaking play with a monologue, right? I was terrified. And George came backstage and he said, "You all right?" I went, "Mm-hmm." He goes, "No, you're not." He said, "Breathe." I go, "Okay." I'm breathing. He goes, "Okay. Now push through your fears and step into your greatness. I'll see you at the end of the play." And he walked away and I went, push through my fears and step into my greatness. And he turned around and he goes, you got to make that first step. It's right in front of you. Bang. Bang.
Damn,
Killed
George.
it. Like,
Wow, George.
yeah.
I would imagine someone named George C. You know, like that's a name of someone who's dropping knowledge.
You know.
Come on.
He's amazing. And the other jewel he gave me, there was an actor. This is when he was the artistic director at the Public Theater. And there was an actor who was cursing him out in the lobby. And George, I can't tell you who the actor was. I'll tell you later.
Oh, amazing.
And George was standing there going, you done? And the guy goes, what? He goes, go ahead if you need to go and continue, but just let me know when you're done. Actor goes, I'm done. And he goes, good. Here's the thing. I didn't participate in your childhood, so don't punish me for it.
George, another one. Bam. God, that's good.
Isn't that?
Damn, George. That's some real shit. That's... there's a couple people I want to go back in time and say that to.
You know.
You know? I'm going to put that on a fucking t-shirt.
You know.
It's going to be my merch. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
I'm so glad. This is a dream for me. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Oh.
That was it. Rosie Perez, legend, icon, all around wonderful human being. Thank you, Rosie, for doing this. Oh, I just love talking to you. I feel so lucky. Thank you. All right, that's it, guys. I got nothing else. I'm exhausted, yo. Babies don't give a fuck about how you sleep. Babies are like, they're like, you know, they like to be up at 2 or 3 in the morning. What do they think? They're at the club? What do they think? They act like dirty dopers, all doped up and leaning on milk. You know? You ever seen a baby after they drink milk? They look like the dope fiend on the crosstown bus who's asleep and misses his stop because he's all stuck on those gray skies. He's all hopped up on that good. You know what I mean? My baby likes to eat at 2 a.m.-ish, you know, bit of a night owl, and then he nods out for like 45 to 85 minutes, and he's right back. Wake up, Dad. Let's do it again. Hit that bottle service. I'm out here doing baby bottle service. But it's all right. He's very cute. And I've heard this passes. And if it doesn't, you know, if I'm feeding my kid at 11 at 2 a.m., well, so be it. It's what I signed up for. Anyway, guys, love you. Thanks for listening. Okay, bye.